my name is Peter Bealey, and I'm pretty sure that I'm a space alien. And my mind has been hijacked and reprogrammed by other aliens. The evidence started appearing about 10 years ago. My forehead started getting bigger. It's about this big, and it got to be about this big. Now it's like halfway to the ceiling. My kids started whispering, I think Dad could be an alien. After I watched The Matrix, I realized a lot of things didn't make sense. Ever since I was a little kid, I noticed that the way the second law worked was, say if I build a castle, I noticed that my castle would deteriorate. And if I left my toys out in the backyard, especially for a couple of days, they would show signs of wear and tear. And that's the way everything worked in the crazy little town I was raised in. Our roofs got worse over time. Our plumbing got worse over time. We had automotive mechanics in the strange little town I grew up in because our cars would break down over time. You name it, even our own bodies, it would break down. But when I got to school, all the biology textbooks would claim that the entire biological kingdom was an accident. All the information in our genome was just the result of random processes. I thought, man, it must be a big world out there. And maybe I need to visit the towns where these authors of these textbooks came from. Because in the town that I grew up in, things did not work that way. This little town I grew up in, I guess it's an outback, little hole-in-the-wall place called Los Angeles. Even though it seemed like somebody or something was jacking with my mind, I continued to explore science. I learned about how to make a scientific hypothesis. For example, you could test gravity. If you knew the direction of the wind and you knew the velocity that you threw a ball, you could actually very accurately tell where that ball was going to go. Same thing with electromagnetic waves. You could have some radiation hit a metallic plate, and if you knew the temperature and the prevailing winds, you could look at that temperature profile, you could predict it over time. And science, I was interested in it, and it kind of gave me relief from this troubling thoughts I was seeing. But then I noticed that while theories in physics and engineering, they get tested with discriminating hypotheses, I noticed that evolutionary theories were different. While evolution was defined as a change in gene frequency over time, other ideas like gravity and electromagnetism were defined in more discriminating and quantitative ways. I mean, could I provide proof for gravity by taunting the hypotheses that gravitational things happen? Say if I threw a ball to the east and then it went to the west, that would be gravitational things happen, right? But such a hypothesis would be very stupid. Just to say, hey, gravitational things happen. And same with a plate, a metallic plate. If I hit a plate with radiation and it gets cooler, I say, hey, electromagnetic things happen. No, that's not discriminating enough. Why is it that evolutionism could get away with these non-discriminating hypotheses? So I went to my dentist to get my wisdom teeth removed, and during the process, the dentist and I started talking. He told me that I needed to get my wisdom teeth removed because they're sort of an artifact of evolution. We don't need them anymore. And he started, of course, of conversation, started telling me that the wife and him are trying to have kids. At first I thought nothing of it, but then I asked the dentist if he believed that random processes were responsible for his genius. I was not surprised when the dentist said yes, and I wasn't surprised when he didn't protest that I called him a genius. Then I asked this genius if this X-ray machine of his could produce mutations if directed to a certain part of, say, of his anatomy. And the genius said yes. Then I asked him if mutations and random processes were responsible for creating a genius like you, will you direct that X-ray into your nether parts so that you could get a super genius child? The strangest thing happened. The dentist turned beet red, shook his head, and muffled no. He clearly didn't want to explain his unwillingness to put his family jewels where his faith in evolutionism was. And that's when it hit me like a bag of poltergeists. Why is it that all the towns I've ever been to, without exception, had roofers, plumbers, mechanics, repairmen? How is it that with all the mutagenic sources that we have, I have never heard of any evolutionists irradiating themselves to obtain super children? Why are all the evolutionists functional creationists? What kind of theory gets to be explained and proven by a metric so feckless as things happen? But then everyone who says they believe actually doesn't believe in it. That's when I started shouting, "E.T. phone home! E.T. phone home!"